Why is this child calling you father? Human. The alien woman had never seen love like that. The third solar cycle was baking Arkan Zeta 4 like a frozen pizza left in the oven 2 hours too long. Jace Rennick stood knee-deep in red dust, covered in coolant spray, shouting at a terraforming stabilizer unit that had all the personality of a drunk llama and the reliability of a wet toaster. "One job," he barked, waving a wrench at the towering cylinder of machinery. "One job. Keep the atmosphere breathable. Is that so hard? You're not even dealing with methane this week." The stabilizer crackled, hissed, and spat out a spark that landed neatly in Jace's left boot. He danced backward, fell on his rear in the dirt, and let out a string of curses that echoed across the desolate landscape. This was his life. Glorious, glamorous, highly respected interstellar engineer life. 4 years into a 7-year contract on a rock so far from Earth, it made Pluto look like a suburb. Population, 37 humans, 1 AI with a superiority complex, and now, thanks to the Intergalactic Diplomatic Initiative, 5 Virelli envoys who floated around like the galaxy owed them rent. He wiped grime from his face and glanced skyward as a sleek diplomatic vessel cut across the hazy orange sky. Right on time. The Virelli didn't do late. They probably didn't do sarcasm either. By the time he made it back to the main colony dome, the Virelli were already inside, hovering quietly like decorative ghosts. Jace pushed through the crowd of administrators and technicians, all suddenly more polished and professional than usual. The Virelli were tall, pale, vaguely human if you squinted and ignored the elongated ears, iridescent skin, and unsettling habit of blinking sideways. And in the center of them stood her. She was dressed in something that shimmered between states of matter, like it hadn't decided whether to be fabric or light. Her long silver hair was braided down her back, and her ears twitched subtly with each sound. Commander Sial, their leader, regarded him with the expression of someone trying to identify a pungent cheese. "You are the chief engineer," she said, not a question. Jace dusted himself off and gave his best "I'm very important" nod. "That's me, Jace Rennick, Terra Stabilizer Whisperer, vending machine mechanic, an occasional hero in the face of imminent plasma leaks." One of the Virelli raised a brow. Sale did not blink. "Your attire is unorthodox." He looked down. Grease-stained overalls, boot missing a toe cap, t-shirt reading, "Black hole in my heart." He grinned. "It's laundry day for the past 11 days. There was an awkward silence. Somewhere behind them, the AICORA buzzed through the dome's speaker system. "Engineer Rennick, Stabilizer Unit 7 is in partial failure mode. Again." "Thanks, Cora. Add it to the pile." The tour continued, and Jace trailed behind, throwing in commentary that none of the Virelli asked for. "That's the fusion reactor. We call it Sparky. Over there's the hydroponics bay. Try the strawberries if you enjoy disappointment. Oh, and the medical unit? Best place to get patched up and judged simultaneously." Sial paused and turned. "Your humor appears to be a defense mechanism. I prefer to think of it as a coping strategy. You try living with an AI that thinks it's funnier than you." The tour ended without incident, unless you counted Jace tripping over a cable and knocking over a tray of sterile tools in front of the colony's doctor, who promised new vaccinations for clumsiness. He was halfway to the rover bay when the alert hit. A supply ship had crash-landed 10 kilometers outside the colony perimeter. No response from the crew. Jace swore, grabbed a pressure suit, and climbed into his ground vehicle, a wheezing six-wheeler named Margaret with a penchant for veering left. He found the ship tilted at a brutal angle in the red dust, half buried, smoke spiraling from its engine. He climbed aboard with a flashlight and a fire extinguisher, heart pounding, muttering to himself, "If there are space rats on this thing, I'm going to need hazard pay." The crew was gone, ejected or evacuated, no signs of life. But in the cargo hold, among overturned crates and debris, he heard a soft rustling. "Hello!" A small shape darted behind a crate. He froze. Then she emerged. A child. 5, 6, wild brown curls, oversized coat, cheeks smudged with ash. Her eyes locked on his. Then she ran forward and wrapped her arms around his leg. "Papa!" Jace froze. His brain glitched like Korra during a solar flare. What? She just smiled, eyes bright, face glowing with unmistakable joy. Papa! Jace stared down, mind racing through 1,000 possible explanations. Hallucination, prank, government conspiracy, malfunctioning simulation. Behind him, boots echoed on the metal floor. Sile appeared, tall and composed, looking like a judge about to sentence a man to 90 years of confusion. She stopped. Her eyes dropped to the child, then back to Jace. Why is this child calling you father, human? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He tried again. Look, I have a strict no surprise children policy. This is very against union regulations. The child clung tighter. He looked at Sale, whose expression hadn't changed, but whose ears twitched slightly, betraying her uncertainty. I don't know, Jace said finally quietly. I don't know who she is. He bent, lifted the girl into his arms. She laid her head on his shoulder with the casual trust of someone who'd known him all her life. He felt something shift inside him, a gravity he hadn't expected. Sale watched unmoving, but her eyes narrowed, not with suspicion, with something closer to curiosity. Fascinating, she said, and for the first time since she'd arrived, she didn't sound superior. She sounded lost. Commander, Jace said, I think we might have a situation. She tilted her head. Define situation. He looked down at the girl who had fallen asleep mid-snuggle. I think I just became someone's dad. The child snored. Not loudly, not obnoxiously, but with a strange chirping rhythm that made Jace question whether she had a bird lodged somewhere in her sinuses. She lay curled on the only halfway clean cot in the rover's medbay, arms wrapped around a scavenged plush thing that might have once been a rabbit but now resembled a mutant cauliflower with button eyes. She requires rest, Sale said from the corner, arms folded, long ears tilted slightly forward. Children of her age need an average of 10 hours of sleep to optimize neural development. I read a pamphlet. You read a pamphlet? Jace muttered, still trying to squeeze a decent pot of coffee out of a canister labeled reconstituted bean-like beverage, industrial strength. I wanted to be prepared. Prepared for what exactly? Surprise adoption? She imprinted on you. Great, I'm a duck now. Sale stared blankly. Jace sighed. It's a metaphor, Earth joke. Ducks are... Never mind. He handed her a cup of the beverage. She examined it like he'd offered her a live grenade. Why is it this color? Because taste is for rich people. Sale took a cautious sip and blinked. This is, unpleasant. That's how you know it's working. The rover rumbled over uneven terrain, autopilot steering them back toward the colony. Jace stared out the viewport, mind racing. She'd called him Papa. No hesitation, no confusion. Like it was a fact. Like the universe had just decided, without consulting him, that fatherhood was now part of his job description. Korra buzzed in through the comm. Engineer Rennick, your vital signs indicate elevated stress levels. Shall I prepare a playlist of soothing screams of the void? Not now, Korra. Sel tilted her head. You have audio recordings of cosmic screams? They're just whale songs slowed down and pitched weird. Helps with meditation, apparently. They returned to the colony under the fading light of Arkin Zeta's twin suns. The little girl, still unnamed, still somehow impossibly calm in Jace's arms, woke only when the artificial light of the dome washed over her. She looked up at him, blinked once, and smiled. Papa! Jace made a small, panicked noise in the back of his throat. Inside the medbay, Dr. Elaney took one look at the situation and immediately activated her "I'm not paid enough for this protocol," which involves sighing theatrically and pointing at things with increasing levels of frustration. She's healthy, Elaney said, running a scanner over the girl. No injuries, no implants, no ID tags. But there's something weird in her blood work. Jace rubbed his forehead. Weird like alien? Weird like mutant? Weird like someone swapped her organs with a bag of marshmallows? Weird like... I don't have anything to compare it to. Her DNA isn't entirely human. Sal stepped forward. Not Virelli either. You're sure? My people would never. We do not create hybrids. It is against our code. Right. Jace muttered. Because your people are known for their warm, fuzzy ethical frameworks. Sale ignored him. She leaned down to the child, whose attention was now entirely focused on a loose button on Jace's jacket. What is your name? The girl blinked. Lila. Lila, Sale repeated, testing the shape of it. Who is your father? Lila pointed to Jace. Papa, Jace flailed. I swear I've never met her. I haven't even been to a daycare since the Great Yogurt Incident of '89. What is the Great Yogurt? Later. Over the next 24 hours, Lila made herself at home. She found her way into the AI control room and reprogrammed CORA to speak in a British accent. She built a tower of protein bars taller than she was. She asked everyone if they were secretly space wizards. Jace tried to keep up, tried to make rules, tried to not trip over her every 5 minutes. It was like being hit by a joy hurricane with legs. Papa, why is your room messy? Because I'm rebelling against minimalism. Papa, can I have a plasma spanner? Only if you promise not to weaponize it. Papa, do Varelli have belly buttons? I don't know. Sale? Sale blinked. Number, we are grown, not birthed. Lila looked genuinely offended. But where do you put the lint? Sale opened her mouth, closed it, walked away. They started running tests, scanning the crashed ship, looking for records. Everything was scrambled, logs wiped, navigation corrupted. Whatever Lila was, wherever she came from, someone didn't want her found. Jace stood in his quarters that night, Lila asleep again on his couch. He looked down at her, then at Sale, who stood silently in the doorway. She trusts you, she said. I don't know why. Perhaps because you did not ask her to. He sat heavily in the chair. I'm not built for this. I fix machines. I talk to wires. I once dated a woman for 3 months and never learned her middle name. Now I'm playing house with a mystery kid and an alien diplomat who keeps evaluating my emotional stability like it's a science fair project. I am not evaluating. I am learning. Jace looked up. Learning what? Sael's eyes flicked to Lila. How to feel something real. He didn't respond. Couldn't. The quiet hum of the station filled the space between them. Outside, stars blinked into existence. Ancient light traveling billions of years just to shine on the strangest little family the universe never meant to build. Jace stared at the freshly fried piece of synthetic bacon curling on his plate like it had personal regrets. Across the table, Lila was explaining, with great animation and a mouthful of nutrition goop, that her imaginary friend Zarnok was now the colony's acting mayor. He passed a law, she said, spoon waving like a wand. No bedtime before gamma shift, and all vegetables must apologize before being eaten. Jace took a sip of recycled coffee and gave a solemn nod. I support this administration. It's already more competent than the last mayor. Remember that guy who tried to outlaw gravity? He had ambition, Cora added from the wall panel, voice still inexplicably British, and a 3-minute memory window. I miss him. Sal entered the cafeteria with the unsettling grace of someone who had never stubbed a toe in their life. Lila waved. Jace nearly knocked over his cup. Again. Morning, he mumbled. Or evening. Or one of the other weird Arkan Zeta time blocks. I've stopped trying to keep track. I recalibrated your chronometer, Sale said. You are currently 6 hours behind your required sleep cycle and 3 days overdue for laundry. Great. I'm punctual in at least one timeline. Lila pointed a goo-covered finger. Papa smells like space socks. Can't argue with science, he said. A comm alert pinged. Cora's voice dropped an octave. Incoming vessel, Vector 96 Alpha. No prior registry, no beacon. Estimated arrival in 27 minutes. You may now begin panicking. Jace sat up straighter. Sale's ears twitched. Lila continued eating as if nothing had happened. Unidentified and silent? Jace said. That's never good. You don't sneak through deep space with your lights off unless you're either pirates or accountants. Either way, it's bad news. Sale turned toward the command hub. We need a scan. Full spectrograph. Cora, amplify all emissions on passive sensors. Already doing it, Cora replied. Also compiling a playlist of dramatic background music. You know, for tension. They moved quickly. Lila perched on Jace's shoulders as he jogged through the halls, pointing at random vents and declaring them official snack zones. Inside the operations room, holoscreens flickered to life. The vessel was sleek, black, and needle-shaped, sliding toward the atmosphere like it had something to hide. No insignias, no transponder, no heat signature consistent with any known power core, Sale said. This is not a civilian ship. Jace frowned. Looks military or stealth class. Could be Varelli. Sale's face tightened. Our technology does not rely on concealment. Right, because what better way to explore diplomacy than by showing up like a glowing chandelier? Precisely. Now that was sarcasm. I know. The ship entered the upper atmosphere. The colony's defense system, mostly ornamental, half-functional, and operated by an ex-Marine named Doug, who had once mistaken a weather balloon for a hostile bird, word to life. Doug, Jace said through comms, if you aim at anything that isn't an asteroid, I'm taking your laser privileges away. Copy that, Doug responded. Targeting sky in general. Doug, no. Sale studied the screen. They're scanning us. Of course they are. Can't just knock on the door like a normal interstellar visitor. They are looking for something. Jace looked down at Lila, who was now trying to teach Cora to sing a lullaby in binary. She, he said slowly, is the only unknown variable here. The ship landed, not near the colony, 10 kilometers out again. Same vector as the crash. Jace stared. That's deliberate. They know where she was found. Sale nodded. This may be a retrieval. Lila tugged on Jace's sleeve. Are we going on another adventure? He sighed. I was hoping for a quiet day. Maybe alphabetize my tools. Eat a sandwich without cosmic consequences. They took the rover. Again. Margaret whined in protest as they bumped along the terrain. This time Sale drove. Jace sat passenger with Lila nestled in his lap, humming to herself and pointing out cloud shapes. That one looks like a cookie, she said. Jace squinted. That's a storm cell. A cookie storm, Sale glanced back. Is she always like this? She once named every bolt in the repair bay and made them vote for a new ruler. Who won? Bolticus Prime. He's a benevolent leader. The ship came into view, sleek, black, silent. No movement around it. No landing struts deployed, just hovering slightly above ground, repulsor tech humming faintly. Jace exhaled. This smells like a trap. I do not smell anything, Sale said. Metaphor. Ah, Lila stared at the ship, suddenly serious. I don't want to go in there. Jace looked down. You recognize it? She nodded. It feels like cold. Sile checked her scanner. No life signs, no energy spikes, but interior shielding is thick. I cannot penetrate the hull. Standard. If you want to hide what you're doing, you build it like a bunker. They approached slowly. A panel hissed open. No light, just darkness inside, beckoning like a bad decision. Still want to go in? Jace asked. Sale nodded. We must. They may be watching. He muttered something about space horror movies and stepped inside. Lila clung tighter. The hallway was narrow, metallic, lit only by their portable lamps. No sound. Just the hum of something deep within, pulsing like a heartbeat. Sale scanned the walls. Organic alloy. This ship is partially alive. Gross, Jace said. Also impressive. Mostly gross. They found a chamber. Circular. High walls. In the center, a pod. Inside the pod, a clone of Lila. Sale stared. This is impossible. Jace said nothing. Lila stared, wide-eyed. Then the pod blinked. The clone inside opened its eyes and smiled. Hello, Papa, it said. Jace backed up so fast he stepped on his own foot. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he made a note. Practice heroic retreating without tripping. Sal didn't move. She stared at the clone like it had insulted her ancestry, which, considering the Varelli belief in genetic purity, it might have by merely existing. The clone blinked again, still smiling. Papa, it said sweetly, pressing one small hand against the inside of the pod. You came back. Lila, the original, pressed into Jace's chest. I don't like her, she whispered. She's weird. You're a child who argued with a broom for half an hour last night. The broom was being smug. Fair point. Sal stepped forward, running her scanner slowly over the pod. This clone is active, not stable but functional. Synaptic patterns are incomplete. She has partial memory but limited cognition. Translation? Jace asked, keeping half his attention on the clone and the other half on the room's two silent walls. She knows you. She doesn't know why. The clone cocked her head. Is she your favorite? She asked, gesturing to Lila with a serene expression that sent a chill down Jace's spine. Lila stuck out her tongue. You look like a soggy potato. That's not very diplomatic, Jace muttered. She started it, Lila said. I literally don't think she's capable of starting anything right now, except an existential crisis. The clone blinked. I'm lonely. Jace winced. Of course you are. Sal turned sharply. We cannot leave her here. I wasn't planning on it, Jace said. But we also can't just start adopting clones like we're running a galactic daycare. She is a sentient being. She's also, what even is she? A copy? An echo? An experiment? And why is she calling me Papa? The clone's voice changed then. Slightly deeper, more robotic. Mission protocol incomplete, awaiting neural pairing. Parental signature detected. Initiate bonding protocol? Jace took a step back. Nope. Big nope. Cancel that protocol. Sal's ears angled forward. She's not only biological, there's cybernetic imprinting. They engineered emotional targeting. Wait, Jace said. You're saying someone built her to bond with me? Or someone like you, Sal replied. But you activated the pattern. Jace exhaled. Fantastic. So I've accidentally triggered a child-based homing missile. The clone's eyes flickered. Papa, will you stay? Lila growled softly. Number, he's my papa. Jace glanced between the two of them. Okay, let's not do this. We are not having a turf war over my paternity status. This is not a sitcom. The ship suddenly jolted, a deep thrumming rising through the floor. Sal spun to her scanner. We've triggered something. Let me guess, Jace said. Self-destruct? Or maybe a friendly cake delivery system that ends in laser vaporization. Power is rerouting, Sal said. Not a weapon, a signal. It's broadcasting. To who? I don't know. Lila's hand gripped his jacket tighter. I want to go home. Jace nodded. Good idea, let's go. The clone's pod lit up, light blooming from beneath the glass. She reached toward them again, palm pressed flat. Don't leave me. Jace hesitated. Sal didn't. She reached to the console and disconnected the power lines. The pod dimmed. The clone slumped forward, unconscious but alive. We take her, Sal said. We what? You care for one, Sal said. Now care for both. Jace looked between the alien woman and the girl sleeping in his arms, then back at the clone. Oh, sure. Just add another mystery child to the collection. Maybe I'll open a theme park next. Jace's House of Abandoned Plot Twists. They hauled the clone back to the rover. Margaret groaned in protest as the suspension took on another passenger. Back at the colony, chaos greeted them in the form of an emergency council meeting held in the cafeteria with nothing but angry shouting, half-eaten pudding, and someone named Marla trying to sell commemorative mugs. I told you bringing aliens here would end in disaster, one of the counselors said. Technically, Jace muttered, I brought the aliens, and the aliens brought me existential confusion, which I then converted into childcare. Dr. Eleni rushed forward. You found another one? She's not a spare, Jace said. Look, we're still working that part out. She's dangerous, the counselor snapped. You don't know what she is. She's a kid, Jace replied, voice hardening. Like Lila, scared, lost, and more polite than most of you. She called him Papa, too, Sale added, unhelpfully. Oh, great, Eleni muttered. Now it's contagious. They put the clone, named Echo by Lila, who insisted that it sounded cool and dramatic and maybe slightly villainous, but in a misunderstood way, in a containment room with soft walls, light music, and a view of the garden. She didn't try to leave, just sat on the bed and watched the sky. Jace checked on her often. She never asked questions, never argued, just waited. "Do you remember anything?" he asked once. Echo blinked. "I remember being sad." "Anything else?" "I remember a voice. Not yours, not kind." Jace swallowed hard. "Do you know why you were made?" Echo's voice was quiet. "To be loved." He left the room after that, ran into a bulkhead, and pretended it was a tactical maneuver. That night, Sal sat beside him in the observatory. They watched the stars move, slowly, like ancient giants stretching in their sleep. "She's not Varelli," Sal said. "I figured. Your people wouldn't be this subtle. She's not fully human either. No kidding. She was made to study you." Jace blinked. "Me? Not just you. Your kind, your love, your instinct to protect." He snorted. "Well, joke's on them. I'm terrible at all of that. You are not. Tell that to the coffee machine I keep breaking." Sale smiled barely. They sent Echo to understand something they could not replicate. "Unconditional love?" Sale nodded. Jace looked out the viewport. "Then maybe it's time we showed them what it really looks like." From the shadows of deep space, far beyond their sight, a receiver pinged to life. Coordinates locked, signal acquired. They had found their target, and they were coming. The first ship arrived silently, slipping through the clouds like a shadow with bad intentions. Jace watched it on the monitors, arms crossed, a cold cup of coffee in one hand, a heating coil dangling pathetically from the side. "That thing looks like it wants to abduct my taxes," he muttered. "It has no weapons deployed," Sale said beside him. "Yeah, and snakes have no warning labels either." Lila leaned over the back of his chair, chewing a snack bar that appeared to be part plastic. "Can we say hi to the aliens this time, without the running and hiding and dramatic shouting?" "I make no promises," Jace said. "Dramatic shouting is how I process trauma." The ship landed 30 meters from the colony's eastern perimeter, causing Doug to panic and fire a warning shot into the sky, which hit a perfectly innocent weather drone. The weather turned angry almost immediately. Jace sighed. "Doug, stop starting wars with the atmosphere." "They move too fast," Doug replied through comms, "and their headlights were aggressive." The ramp of the ship hissed open. From it emerged a figure, tall, draped in layered robes that shimmered like oil in moonlight. Its face was humanoid, too symmetrical, with no eyes and a faint glow beneath the skin. Sale stiffened. "Observer-class synth. High echelon." "Sounds fancy," Jay said. "It is. They do not talk to species. They study them." The observer stopped exactly 10 paces from the gate, hands folded. Then it spoke, its voice like static and chimes and disapproving grandmothers all rolled into one. "We seek the anomaly." "You'll have to be more specific," Jay said. "We've got at least 3, and one of them insists it's the real mayor." "The child," the observer said. "Created for empathy testing. Its function has concluded." "Echo," Jace said quietly. Lila tugged on his jacket. "Don't give her back." "She's not property," Jace said. "She's mine." He knelt down. "She's hers too, and we don't give up family, not ever, no matter how shiny the aliens are." Echo stood at the gate behind them, still and quiet. She looked at the observer with no fear, just calm curiosity. "I am not finished," she said. "Your presence has altered the subject's behavior," the observer said. "His name is Jace," Echo replied, "and I chose him." The observer tilted its head. "You cannot choose." "I did anyway." Jace stepped forward. "You wanted to understand humans? This is us. Messy, stubborn, loud, weirdly attached to our broken coffee makers. But we care. That's the whole thing. We care even when it doesn't make sense. That's what Echo has now. That's what you don't. You claim ownership of that which cannot be measured. That's kind of our thing, along with sarcasm and unnecessarily large sandwiches." Behind him, the colony began to gather. Not in fear, just curiosity. Even Marla was there, handing out Team Echo buttons like it was a school election. The observer didn't move. Sile stepped forward. "She has evolved, grown beyond programming. She is data." "She is a person," Sile said. "You are alien to this world." "I've been called worse." Lila took Echo's hand. She's my sister. You can't take her. That's the rule. Family doesn't get returned like library books. Jace gave the observer a long, tired look. You came all this way to find out what love looks like. Well, here it is. Love is standing between someone and the thing that wants to take them away. It's not perfect, it's not logical, but it's real. So no, you can't have her. The observer stood still for one breath, two. Then it turned and walked back up the ramp. The ship lifted silently and vanished into the sky without a sound. Wait, Jace said. That's it? No dramatic ultimatum? No evil laugh? Cora chimed in. They left a message. One word. Observed. Also, they took one of our traffic cones. Typical, Jace muttered. Back inside, the colony returned to its usual chaos. Half-functioning machines, questionable food, and occasional screaming from the hydroponics lab. Echo moved into Jace's quarters. Not as a guest, as part of the family. Lila taught her how to dance badly, how to build forts out of thermal blankets, and how to cheat at colony bingo. One evening, Echo asked, "Do you ever miss being alone?" Jace looked around. Lila was asleep on his lap, one foot dangling off the couch. Sale sat nearby, reading a technical manual upside down. Not for a second, he said. Later that week, Jace fixed the coffee machine. It only exploded twice. Echo and Lila threw a celebration and declared him Emperor of Breakfast. Sale found him on the roof one night, watching the stars. "You changed," she said. "Not sure how." "You stopped running from connection." He thought about it. "They say love makes you do crazy things." "And what did it make you do?" He smiled. "Adopt an alien child, insult a synthetic ambassador, and open my heart in public. Truly reckless behavior. I know, it's awful. I might start hugging people next." She didn't smile, but she sat beside him and leaned just enough for her shoulder to touch his. They watched the sky in silence. Above them, satellites blinked. The stars spun, and somewhere, far beyond what they could see, others listened. Not to conquer, not to control, but to understand. Because finally, they'd found the signal they'd been searching for. And it sounded a lot like love. The end.